Hey, it's Emily here. Thanks for joining me today. Full disclosure, I have tried filming this video several times today. Today is actually Sunday, July 14th, and there's been a lot that's happened this past week. So I wanted to just kind of talk about art and self-care and how we can kind of keep going when times are tough. This is an area that I really struggle with, and my art does help quite a bit, but it was really hard to get motivated today. I love filming and I love art, but sometimes there's just this blockage, I guess, if you will. So today I just thought we could do like a really cool, like loose watercolor, pick a palette that you really like the colors, or maybe it's a new palette and you just want to try it. Or I picked this one because I'm really into like earth tones right now. I think I'm just trying to connect with nature. This is a Prima palette. This is kind of the swatch sheet that comes with it, but yeah, I'm just kind of drawn to that one today. And usually if you buy a pre-made palette, the colors will go well together. So I'm not really worried about if it's going to match or not. Not that I really worry about that too much anyways, but that's just something to think about. I do have my metallics out. One of my sets, it's the CSY Art Galaxy Honey watercolors. I may bring those in. I do like to bring gold in. It's really kind of fancy. But I also have some Brusho, which I've never used before. So I might experiment a little bit with those, and we can talk about those a little bit later. But I wanted to show you another example of just kind of a loose painting that I did the other day. Kind of inspired this one, along with a million other videos I've seen of people doing some really cool stuff. But this I actually decided to do, I used this as a swatch sheet for a Daniel Smith watercolor palette that I had. And I just kind of played with it. I didn't think about it. I just started laying paint down, and I really like how it turned out. So I think we're gonna do, I'm not gonna do it exactly like that, but this is one of those amazing paintings that you can just relax into and get creative and turn our brains off, which I think is necessary sometimes, especially with just the state of the world. So I think it will be a great idea to just, like I said, just kind of jump in and we'll just kind of get loose and just see what happens. I do have a circle template and some just other bigger, just random things. Always feel free to use anything you have on hand. I always do share in the description box the supplies that I use, but in no way are those necessary. So don't feel like you have to use what I'm using. The other things I do have is like a jar of water here. I only have one today just because this is going to be free and I'm not all that worried about it, I guess. I have a porcelain paint palette, and then I have just an array of brushes. Like I said, I'll share kind of what I'm using in the description box if you're interested. And then I have just kind of a swatch piece of paper. And then my little trusted pipette just to put water in my paints to help activate those. So that's basically what I'll be working with today. If I grab anything else, I will have, oh, fine liners is another thing I'll be using today. I'll show you those whenever I get to that point. So I do have my piece of paper taped down with some washi tape. And this is actually just a cutting mat that I had because my art board is huge and I just didn't want to have that up here today. So we're gonna just dive in with that. So I'm actually gonna start with my number 16 Princeton Heritage round brush. You could also use a mop brush if you wanted. That's one of these. It holds a lot of water. I just like this brush quite a bit, so I'm gonna start with it. And I'm just gonna start kind of laying some water down. My paints are already activated. So my brush is really, quite full of water. And I'm just gonna kind of start, I'm just kind of touching the side of my brush, just putting some water down. And then I'm gonna go in. I do not have a plan for this. I'm just gonna kind of grab colors that I'm just feeling today. Now, although colors in palettes will go together, you do still have to kind of be careful about any colors you would put next to each other, so they don't kind of bleed into some muddy, crazy color. So you'll want to make sure that you kind of look at a color chart to see who are friends and who are not. Colors next to each other are friends, colors across from each other are great together, but you have to be careful when you kind of mush them together. So I'm just kind of splashing some water in. I did switch brushes. I'm actually using a little bit, I'm using a number 10 now. Sometimes I'll just grab more water. So when painting like this, it's super easy to just kind of, like I said, just kind of get lost in it. You're not really thinking about anything else. You just kind of get into a nice creative state, hopefully. I mean, that's the goal anyways, which can be really nice. I feel like I overthink things sometimes, or I can kind of let sadness or depression or whatever you want to call it kind of overtake my brain sometimes. And then it's interesting to me how when I can do that even though I know what I should be doing for self-care and to make myself feel better, it's a real struggle sometimes to do those things, even though I know they're going to make me feel better. So I don't know why I do that. I do know why that I do that, but it's interesting to me that I do that. So I'm gonna kind of spritz this with some water. And I'm just kind of gonna let them kind of run together, some of those colors. It's really pretty. And then you can just kind of dab off any extra. The goal of the washi tape is to kind of try to give you a nice little border. When you're working wet on wet, sometimes it bleeds. Like I can see that it already bled a little bit up here, but that's okay. Drop in some more concentrated. Put some of that down here. Do another little flick of water. It's nice. It's kind of hard to see. I know there's a shine, but you can see those little specks in there. It just gives little splashes, which can be really pretty. A lot more water. I don't want to get too crazy. I'm not going to use every color that's in this palette. Kind of stick to just a couple so it doesn't get too busy or too crazy. I'm just touching the very tip of my brush into the water that's down and letting that paint just kind of disperse on its own. So like right here with the yellow and purple, you have to be real careful not to mix those too much, because it'll cause it to be kind of muddy. Unless that's what you're looking for, and that's okay too then. Another good way to get paint down is get some water on your brush. I always kind of dab it off of the handle, but then you can kind of just, well, don't have enough water. Just kind of flick some in. That's a good way to do it. And that way you're not moving any paint around. If you just want to get a little bit more of a color in. The bigger the brush, kind of the bigger the splatters. part of it, another little spritz here. Kind of put it on its side. Just let those colors kind of, some of them run together. It's really pretty. And then you can dab up in ears if you want to. And then you can dab up any areas that are pooling if you want to. I'm just going to let it dry. Kind of see what it does all on its own. I'm going to again drop in some more concentrated. In just a few places. You can kind of start to make some designs with the paint if you want. Again, you can have a plan and have it all mapped out, but I'm just putting some color down because I'm gonna kind of go over it with some shapes and some kind of doodles and stuff. So I'm just basically creating a background. If you want to soften any edges, you just kind of scrub your brush right along the edge there. That'll help soften that up a little bit. Dashes of yellow in there. And I am gonna use a little bit of this orange right here, this brusho, just to see what this is all about. So it's basically this like powder, which I've already got on me. Oh, there we go. And I'm using a palette knife, and I'm just getting the tiniest bit, and I'm just sprinkling that on there. Like right here, it was kind of dry, and then you want to put the lid on because you do not want this getting spilled. That much I know. So this was kind of dry up here, so I'm actually going to give that a little spritz, and then that activates it. A bit more. There we go. That's cool. Kind of looks like a firework. Okay, I'm gonna dry this and then see if I want to add any more areas just to kind of concentrate them, or if I'm just gonna start getting my doodles on. So just one sec. I started to dry it, and then I decided to put a little bit more yellow right there. And then I'm gonna actually add a little bit of this yellow brusho. Just a little bit. There we go. And then I'll give that a little extra spritz to kind of activate it. Maybe just a little bit more of that orange too. Again, this is not a product I'm familiar with. I've heard of it. Had a couple people mention it to me. I know there's lots of ways you can use it. This is just one way that I kind of thought might be fun. I know when you introduce water to it, it's what kind of helps it get activated, like I said. So, okay, now I'm going to go ahead and dry it. And I don't think I've ever mentioned that I just use a heat gun. You can use a hair dryer. Okay, so it's all the way dry. I think I might go in with a little bit more paint in some areas. Watercolor does dry lighter, but I think I might introduce one that I kind of lost, which is this, it's called Emotion, fitting for today, which is like a light blue, but I think I might just kind of sprinkle that in a little bit in a couple of areas. And then I'm gonna deepen again some of this kind of turquoise. You can run your brush just along the edges, and then it'll soften it for you. You can begin to start making some shapes out of the paint if you want to. continue just to kind of let it naturally do what it's going to do. Sometimes a pattern will kind of emerge. So I'm just putting the tip of my brush right along where I put that paint, and then that kind of softens it up a bit. I'm gonna just kind of drip some water in there. I keep turning it. I don't know which is going to be up and which is going to be down. Maybe just a little bit more of that purple too. See, now here's a time where I'm wishing I would have got 2 cups of water, like I usually do, because there's these two like yellowy colors, the lighter colors, are getting a little bit muddy because my water is muddy. So something to keep in mind. This is a little bit of a different. This isn't the yellow I've been using. It's a little bit different. It's called Chant. You can always kind of dab some up too, just to get more textures. Okay, I'm gonna dry this one more time. All right, so now I'm gonna go in with and create some circles. You could create circles, you can just create doodles. I kind of like to start with some circles and then see what emerges from there. Sometimes I'll just let the actual way the paint dried kind of decide for me. I've got a couple of white Posca pens. I've got a Micron pen, a Millennium, acid-free, permanent pen, and then I have this set here. I'll use different sizes potentially of the nib tips. This is a good set. This is one that I really like. So if you're interested in getting a little package of liners, this is one I definitely recommend. Okay. So subconsciously, I think, because I've been feeling kind of blue today, it seems like this is kind of wants to be a sun right here, which I thought was kind of neat. So I think I might actually, let's see, I might trace the inside of this. Kind of make that kind of like a loose sun. And I'm actually going to trace that in white, I think. If you ever notice me having lines on my hand, it's because I've done that with a Posca pen. So I'm using Arch's cold press paper, which has a little bit of a tooth to it, so it's kind of bumpy. So you just have to kind of keep that in mind when you're making your marks. Up there. So when it comes to mental health and making myself feel better, some of the things I like to do, I journal, I get outside and take a walk, or just take off my shoes and walk in my yard, just to get kind of some Mother Nature kind of grounding. I also talk to my mom. Read. Of course, I work on my art. I like to do tutorials all the time, just to kind of take my brain off of trying to think of what to create. It's inspiration. I love learning from other artists. It's fun to learn new techniques and different ways of doing things. There's obviously more than my way. I'd love to know what kinds of things you do kind of for mental health and to kind of help yourself start to kind of feel better. Any tips and tricks, I'm sure we'd all love to know in the comments. Kind of help each other out a little bit. So now I'm just gonna kind of go in and just kind of start doodling, kind of going back and forth between the white and the black. And then I'm probably gonna bring in a little bit of gold watercolor. You can always use a gold Sharpie or just any kind of gold liner if it's easier than using a brush. I just don't have one handy, so I'm gonna go ahead and use my gold watercolor, but I'm gonna put a little bit of line work in first, I think, and then come back and do that. But like I said, I just kind of will let the shapes, or if a theme kind of comes to me as I'm working, then maybe I'll go with that. I did see in somebody's video, and now I can't remember what her name is. I will link it in the description box. She does really cool, just abstract things as well, and she had looked like Saturn in one of her pieces one time, so I think I might do that too, but I will link her information because she certainly inspired me. I think the white definitely works better in the dark areas, obviously. Okay, so I've put some golds in my paint palette here. This is Inca Gold, Golden Copper, and Gold Pearl. And again, it's from the CSY Art Gallery Honey watercolors, which is really cool. They're literally made from honey, which is really nice. They're super creamy. I'm gonna start by using my rigger brush. And I'm just gonna kind of go in and start creating some lines. Again, if you want a thinner line, don't put a lot of pressure. You want to hold your brush kind of vertical. It'll help you get thinner lines and have a little bit more control. The gold really starts to make it pop, which is really nice. It's really cool. So it's really fun just to kind of start playing around. Just follow your intuition. See what you come up with. Since I kind of thought this looked like a sun, I thought I'd put maybe some sun rays. Go into a little bit of a fatter brush. It's a number 3 round Princeton Heritage brush. Still gonna go in with those those same gold colors. When I started filming this video, I was feeling pretty bad. And I already feel a little bit better. Just kind of getting out how I'm feeling, and working on my art is so therapeutic. Just kind of getting out of my head for a while and kind of sharing my experience with people, hoping, you know, that we're not alone. We all go through stuff, right? Hopefully if you're feeling sad, you feel a little bit better too. This washi tape is coming up a little bit. A lot of times I use artist's tape, which is not quite as sticky as masking tape, but it's a little bit stickier than washi tape. A lot of times when I use washi tape, I'm going to keep it on the paper. It's more like a decorative idea.
Walking down the avenue, holding take I meant for two. I could eat it all myself, but then I wouldn't need your help. So meet me at the corner shop where they sell your favorite pop. I'll be there till you show up, and if you don't, I'll die on the spot. Cause I just can't fight the feeling. No, I just can't fight the feeling anymore. And I don't want to be calling you, but I just can't fight the feeling anymore. Kiss me in the rain tonight. I'm here at the borderline, waiting for you patiently. Cause this is my reality. Hope is such an evil thing, always keeps me wondering. Maybe you'll be here one day, or maybe it's reason enough to stay. Cause I just can't fight the feeling. No, I just can't fight the feeling anymore. And I know you won't be picking up, but I just can't fight the feeling anymore.
I don't like what I just did here, so I'm taking a wet brush. Just kind of a little bit. It's not going to be perfect, but it will lift up some of that, and then I may actually go back over it with some of that blue.
Can't fight the feeling anymore. And I know
Happy little accident, right?
you're picking up, but I just
A-okay.
can't fight the feeling.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and dry this little spot here, and then I think I'm gonna maybe just continue with the gold. I don't know if I'm actually gonna bring in the white this time, since I'm kind of going with earth tones, but I have a couple little tools I'm gonna use instead of a brush, so I will be back as soon as I get done drying that. Off camera, I went ahead and added a few more little circles, so I'm just kind of filling those in. And I decided to go ahead and fill this one in since I kind of messed it up whenever I put the outline in. So I'm gonna do that real quick too. Now, I'm actually going to bring in some metallic acrylic paint. This is so old, but it still works. And then I have this little tool here, and it has these little ends that I'm going to use to put in some dots. good to kind of take a step back. You don't want to, sometimes less is more, sometimes I'm more is more. So I'm going to go back in with a little bit more of the metallic watercolor in just a couple spots. These little white areas, I think I'm going to go ahead and fill in with the gold. To decide if I want to go in with a little bit of white splatter, or if, like I said earlier, if I'm just kind of gonna try to leave it just the earthy tones. I say that, but then there's purple, but because I'm kind of going with a solar system-ish vibe, I was thinking I might do a little bit of white splatter just for like it to be stars maybe. Heck, might as well go for it, right? I'm going to be using the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. And I prefer to not use one of my really good brushes, so I'm just kind of using a random, it's basically an acrylic brush, but get some of that out, put on my palette, and then add a little bit of water just to dilute it a little bit. You can hold it kind of towards the end and then tap it with another brush, or like I did earlier, you can kind of hold on to it and just tap it with your finger. I appreciate you hanging out with me today and letting me just kind of put my heart out there. It's kind of rough, but I do feel better than I did when I first started, and I am posting every Wednesday, so I hope you'll continue coming along for my journey. As always, my Instagram and other ways, contact information will be in the description box. If you want to tag me on Instagram with any of the artwork that you're creating, I would love to see what you're doing. I always appreciate if you follow, like, comment. All of those things really do help my channel grow and reach other like-minded people like you, and it's free support, so I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you next time. Take care of yourself, be gentle with yourself, and be kind to others, and be kind to yourself, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much. Bye.